Wake up, wake up. Don't buy into the lie nor the pie in the sky. You're not a typecast to be something that you never tried. Don't make yourself out to be something you're not. You're sons of kings. Have you forgot? Your name is not Michael or Muhammad Ali. You're not Dr. J, nor should you be. Just because you can rhyme 20 words and 2 seconds flat, just because you can hit a ball with a bat, just because you can place an orange sphere in a round hole. Have you considered what you'll do when your body gets old? When you have no one cheering you from the rafters of fame? When you have no one yelling and screaming your name? The rappers you idolize, the athletes you admire won't come to your aid when you're looking for hire. They've got their own problems and fame to protect. They could care very little about your unemployment check, but man, you were cool. The talk of the town, all the women you rocked, all the drugs you put down. You were the next Michael Jordan. You were the next Barry Bonds. Got your pants sagging low, bling bling, and shades on. But as the days turn to months and the months turn to years, you wake up one morning in a pool full of tears. All the lies that you tried have now yielded regrets. The pain you'll embrace, you'll never forget. The girls that you dated, the friends that you know, they now have their bachelors and masters from school. All you have left are intentions of one of these days, working hour by hour with a child on the way. Wake up, my dear brother. Don't buy into the lie. There's no fast, easy money. There's no pie in the sky. Don't give in to the pressures of life's ups and downs. Get your soul anchored in Jesus. He'll bring you around. He'll make you mount up on eagle's wings high. His vision is clear. All your needs he'll supply. Only trust him today. Don't delay. Don't deny. You're much better than this. All you need do is try. All you need do is try. I'm here on the remedy. Thank you for being here. This is called The Alarming Disappearance of the Black Male, and I want to give a disclaimer, and I really want y'all to listen. Please don't turn, because this needs to be listened. This is just prose. This is not prose. It's just opinion, and I have no slight. I want you to listen to me real carefully. No slight on any group, on any race, or any sex. I want you to hear that. There's no slight. There's no slight. It's just like Sergeant Friday. This is just the facts, ma'am. This came to me, actually, as I was doing research for it, I found out in my other paperwork, man, this has been a recurring theme of mine, and it keeps coming back up. Sometimes the things that keeps coming back up, you need to pay attention to. I know I do. Well, this week we heard of the sad death of Malcolm Jamal Warner, the beloved actor that played Theo on the show Cosby. And like so many other actors before him, celebrities, and Chadwick Boseman, of course, Hulk Hogan died, and other celebrities, Ozzy Osbourne, and no matter what your opinions are, death is all around us, and it began to sort of shake me on the fragile, what did the lady say, episodic thing that we call life, how short it is, and especially with the black male. I want you to hear me, because there is, I believe, and I want to be somewhat opinionated, not a conspiratorial and concerted effort to destroy. Well, it's not even a theory. The Bible says the evil one comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And I began to reflect on the many deaths that have occurred just recently. And, as I said before, there was Malcolm Jamal, Kobe Bryant. My goodness. And it just began to stir me. And I started to think on them. And I was like, maybe some of you, I was like wondering what was going on. And why is it that the black male seems to be, in my opinion, or maybe it's this. Maybe it's because I'm black. You know how often when you I don't know what the psychological term, you buy a car and all of a sudden now you start seeing cars like that. Well, it might be, but I believe there are several key reasons. I may or may not get to all of them today. Each of these reasons are subject and topics for discussion. So I'm going to give a survey, my opinion, my beliefs, and thoughts on why there is a tragic, alarming disappearance of the black male. Number one, and I'm just going to give these reasons out, and then we can kind of, whether I will go through them in detail or not in this cast is subject. But number one is health, despair, health and morality. Number two, and I'm going to talk about these, and I may talk about them in a different order, but I'm just going to talk about them. Number two is incarceration. Number three is feminism. Number four is homosexuality and the media's manipulation of the black male. Number five is abortion. Number six is the egregious, in my opinion, disparity and mistrust between black men and black women. And number seven is identity. Hope you stay around for the talk, and here is the remedy. So number one is health and morality. When, it's been said that when white people catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia. In 2020, black individuals were approximately three times, you remember that? Three times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID-19 and twice as likely to die from it. When we white folks catch a cold, we catch pneumonia from the disease. Now, there were some leading causes for that. Some of the causes have to do with our availability to healthcare. There are a lot of people who are so far drenched in their own political ideology. They want to cry racism and oppression, and they may or may not have any merit. But it was yet the evidence. But health and mortality is one of the reasons, of course, that we're disappearing. I was looking at some statistics here, and I want to share that with you. The leading causes of death of all men, both white and black. And so the leading causes of death for black men is basically heart disease. And that was both white and black, the leading cause of death. So, that's something that I need to be mindful of, as possibly all of us. For black men, the second leading cause of death, and this is my first time hearing this phrase, was malignant neoplasm. Malignant neoplasm. Wow. Or as and more better terms, cancer. It's also the second leading cause of death in white males. The third leading cause of death was accidents. That the accident like Malcolm Jamal Warner unfortunately had on previously a few days ago. This research or these reports were based, I believe, around about 2020. And they said the leading cause of death for white males was COVID-19. Now, I don't know if that's a factor or not, but I know that accidents also reign as for general. This is for all ages, both black and white. The fourth leading cause of death for African Americans, and hold on to your seat, you probably know where I'm going, is homicides. Now, why do you say that's significant? I'll share that in a moment. And it is the main cause of death. Listen now, homicides for black males is the main cause of death for those 15 to 34. Something's wrong with that picture. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. I don't care what side of the political party you're on. I do care how you try to dress it up for your own political banter. That's an issue that we need to, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. Equally so, or on the other end, for white males, it's not homicides, it's suicides for that same age group. However, with all of the reports, and we're going to talk about that, blacks are starting to kill themselves more often, or starting to kill themselves at a much more frequent. That's sad. Most of us, if at least I did, and we grew up with the idea of fearing God. Killing yourself means you're going to hell. And so we had the fear of God. So I think that might have thwarted us, but it seems that the cuffs are off because of another thing I'm going to try to get to. Okay. And then for white males, the last leading cause of death was chronic lower respiratory disease. Either way, death is interesting. Death is not interesting. Death is morbid. These facts, rather, are interesting, and it's something to take note. Again, I just want to reiterate, I'm talking about disappearance, the alarming disappearance of the black male. So all of the facts, all of the issues that I'm going to bring up has to pertain to that. Has nothing to do with your preference, has nothing to do with you or as a person. It simply has to do with my take on why the why the alarming disappearance of black males. We talked about health, we talked about mortality, but health is also a great issue. Um, like most men, we are sometimes the last to actually get help. You know, here's one disclaimer for all of you men and for me. Listen, I'm talking to me. That's why the Bible said it's not good for a man to be alone. As men, we tend to think we don't need help. We don't know when we need help. The woman in your life can say, "Honey, you need to go see the doctor now." I had a situation where one of my children, amen, they was in a situation, and thank God there was someone there. The wife say, "Hey, you need to get to the hospital now." Listen, man, listen, we just can't do it ourselves. I just saw the doctor just the other day and finally found out that I have a condition called severe sleep apnea. Now, my wife, God bless her soul, would do this little thing at night to sort of say, "Hey, you need to do something about that," But women, if you're listening, listen to your wives. Come on now. Listen to your wives. They're there for a reason. Or listen to your mama. Listen to your auntie. Listen to your sister. Somebody's trying to tell you something. Maybe that person is God, okay? So, of course, for the longest, we as African Americans have been at the high end of everything that's negative in the health when it comes to heart disease, cancer, when it comes to all sorts of maladies. The percentage of men 20 over with hypertension, with blood pressure. I was reading this statistic. 56.8% of our black males, are diagnosed with high blood pressure. Right? And there's high mortality rates in many of these things. And somebody ought to say something. And that's part of why I'm here. We also have a lower life expectancy. This again, for all of you because I'm going to get to some sensitive things that has nothing to do with race, sex, your preference, or nothing. It simply has to do with this topic: the alarming disappearance of black males. I was just taken aback again by the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Not only him, but other celebrities' deaths, other people's. We're dying at an alarming rate. And some of these deaths could be avoided. Some of them don't necessarily need to happen. Accidents like what happened just a few days ago. But man, the expectancy in 2022, the life expectancy for the black male was 69.1 years. Something's wrong with that picture. For the white male, it's 77 and a half years. There's an alarm that someone should be hopefully posting. I know that there are institutions, there are individuals, there are organizations that are posting these, but I'm here to make a point and hopefully something will stick. Come on now. The leading cause of death, we talked about that in black males and black women. But I just want to address that third leading cause of death. And it's a number one leading cause of death for black males between the ages of 15 to 34, and that's homicide. Okay, I'm gonna just touch this a little bit later. So let me unpack that a little bit later. How about that? We're gonna unpack that a little bit later because I'm gonna pair something with that. But we're talking about health and mortality. One of the things that crossed my plate just this morning and reminded me of a serious thing that's not only in our black community, but in just the community general. However, when white folks get a cold, we catch pneumonia, and that's the actual peril of mental illness. It's so rampant. Like our health, we are the last ones to try to see it or go to it. But there is a real need to address mental illness. I remember coming up in the church some time ago, And our Bishop Jones, Nathaniel Jones, saying we trying to cast the devil out of this person casting. I understand the connection between the mind and how the enemy can come in there. But he says some of these folks just need some mental help. And that's the case. And it's prevalent in our community because of the trauma that many of us have experienced as a child and even now. And it's something that we just can't weaken. Now, I believe that God is the answer, amen, to all of our maladies. I believe that 100%. But at the same time, just like we go to God in prayer for, maybe something in our body, we go to God in prayer maybe for a toothache. But guess what? We also go to the dentist. We also go to the PhD doctor. So we ought to go to somebody and get a little bit of help. Come on now. We don't have to go through this alone. And some of these things, amen, something like Jesus said, some of these things are going to come out with prayer and fasting, but sometimes some of these things we need help. We need somebody who's got some skills, some tools in marriage. Come on now, in counseling. I was telling my kids, I didn't know a whole lot of things. I'm getting to know these things now, so I'm hoping to pass them on to my children. Come on now. I'm going to share what Hosea 4:6 says. My people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. Mental illness is the silent killer, and it's destroying our black men. I got a lot to talk about. I don't have there's my clock. I don't want to keep you too long. We might break this up in two, and if I do, I'll say it's part 2. It's a silent killer. Listen, in 2022, suicide was the third leading cause of death for Black or African Americans ages 10. Help us, Lord, to 24. Cover us in your grace. Something's got to be done. In 2025, a report said in the National Institute of Health showed that black men have the highest, highest rate of depression, anxiety, and PTSD compared to other racial groups. CBS said, and in one episode speaks with the local community, said they were speaking with leaders. How can we bridge? Come on, church leaders. How can we bridge this gap with mental illness? And it needs to be addressed. Some things can be addressed with medicine. Some things can be addressed with counseling. But come on, if we first have got to admit the problem is in our hands. We've got to do something. So I've gone on a little bit more about why we're disappearing. Number 1 has to do with the health and mortality rate. Number 2, it's obvious, the incarceration rate. We've known this for years. Now you can holler off on the highest cloud and say it's because of systemic racism. That's why we're incarcerated. You might have a plea there. It might be some factual evidence there. I'm not going to doubt that, nor am I going to deny it. But the reality is that it's here. Black people are 6 times the rate of white people to be incarcerated, and in every single state. It's not just down in Mississippi or New York, in every single state. A report from the Sentencing Project indicates that 1 in 5 black men born in 2001 is likely to be in prison. Listen to that. 1 in 5. Oh, God, which is a deadline for 1 or 3 of these. Look, I'm going to stop the road. 1 in 5 men. I've been there. I've unfortunately been there. I'm one of those 5. And I understand. I understand all the implications. I understand being pulled over because you're black. I understand being several cops coming just because me and my friend are just outside kicking it. I get that. I get that being pulled over in a neighborhood simply because you're driving. The incident that happened just a while ago, I'm going to talk about that. It is evident. Incarceration. But as Richard Pryor said in a comic strip, it's called the justice system because it's just us in the system. And I think the report said we made, I think it was pretty conservative, over 56% of all of those that are incarcerated. At one time, it was upwards of 60. Come on. And we make we're less than 12% of the population. Something's wrong with that number. Come on now. Now, I understand that there is the systemic racism, or at least a perceived thing and I'm not doubting that. I'm not here to debate that in this episode. But what I am saying, that's something that's got to be done. And I'm going to get to the conclusion of the matter in a moment. The NAACP I read what's on their site. I was reading on their site of Incarceration. And unfortunately, they're going to go to the channel that all of the leftists, all of the people who seem like they ain't got the broken record, that it's the police brutality is the number one complaint that we've got. And they were having all these statistics of all of these black people dying of police brutality. I'm not denying that, but what I am saying, that's not the main thing. Listen, let me rehearse this by the episode. This is July the 25th, I believe, 25th, 26th. Just a few days ago, what's blowing up on the internet, the young man in the car, policeman busts the window, you might have seen it. He goes and pulls him out. Before he pulls him out, he punches him, I'm not here to talk about that incident. What I am here to say is that's not the main thing. It's not the main thing. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. Jesus said it like this: we're straining at gnats and swallowing camels. We're making a monkey mountain out of a molehill. Come on now. Am I denying that it's going to happen or that it is happening? No. But I read a statistic that said you are more likely to be struck by lightning than actually be pulled out of a car and beat up. I'm not. Now listen, you can talk to me. I'm black all my life. I've been there. I've been when the policeman had a gun on me. I've been when the policeman took me out of the car. But I'm going to also tell you, as I reflect on those situations, I was doing some stuff. You know what? Right now, if a policeman, God help me, no, covering the blood, was to pull me over, Andy would start to rise up and start to want to be something that he shouldn't be. Andy would start to want to get up and start to act. Yeah, I'm gonna act like one of those, and I did, and I'm not justifying what happened, but I'm also saying, I kind of got my own medicine, because I know how to stand up, I know how to act a fool. Yes, I do, and I'm saying that in all of the incidents that happened with police brutality, if you review most of those incidents, listen now, don't cry me, Uncle Tom. Most of those incidents, you know what? They were acting, you know what I was. They were acting like, yeah, those folks, and rightfully kind of listen, policemen have an obligation, and they have a license to kill. You remember what mom and dad and the pastors, they say, when you get pulled over, listen, you say what? Yes, ma'am. No, yes, sir. No, sir. You keep your hands where they can see them. You do the dance. You do the step and fetch it. Why? Brothers, I don't want to see y'all on the news. Put your hands on the steering wheel. If you got a license to carry, you say, I've got a license. Do the tap dance. Do it. Better to do that than to actually come up dead. Come on now. We're losing too many of our young men. The thing with George Floyd I'm not going to go down that road, but that whole thing could have been averted if George Floyd probably hadn't been high on drugs and been doing his whole lifestyle. We're losing too many young men, and half of the time, if not more. Now, I'm the first to say if there's some injustice, that ought to be handled. But we've got a condition. I've got so much. Look. That's perception. Today, and if like I was saying, God forbid, I don't want this to happen. If it was happen, all of that old stuff, all of the time when an officer named D. Nelson came and pulled me and my friend over for nothing and started doing a little pat down on us, all of that old stuff would start to rise. We got to do some healing about that. That's a burden that needs to be helped. Come on now, because we're carrying on this perception. And because of our perception and because we start reacting. And when we react, listen, my reaction to you is not dependent upon your perception of me. Can I say that again? Yeah, my reaction to you. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're a policeman. I don't care if you're whatever. My reaction to you is not dependent upon your perception of me. You are control of our reaction. Y'all remember that? Going back to that, oh Lord, that episode of the young man, being, knocking on that window and then going in and hitting it. If that cop had been black, do you think you'd hear about it today? Oh no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Don't. No. If that cop had been black, it would have been probably one of them blurbs that come across the screen and been gone. But because he was a white man, and I'm not justifying, nor am I condoning his behavior. You hear what I'm saying? In Memphis, Tennessee, 2003, I think, 2023, January 7th, the news says, you ever heard of a black man named Tyree Nichols? Let me remind you of him. Tyree Nichols was a black man beat to death by an officer of the law. Not just one, but a Rodney King kind of beating. 5 officers beat this black man to death. Where was BLM? Where was, what's that knucklehead name? The lawyer that always coming to try to get his name up. I don't even want to say it. It makes me so upset. Where was he at? You know why they didn't come? Because the 5 officers that beat him were African American. See, it's all right for us to kill ourselves. We're like black widows after mating. We destroy our own kind. I know